Darryl, thank you for agreeing to do this video interview with me. Can we start off by just covering what you've been up to lately?
Sure, thank you for the interview, Guy. What have I been up to lately? Well, we've been doing some really exciting opportunities in our company. We've been working with a large training company, of all things, who wanted to really up their level of instructional design. This is Learning Tree International, and they're on the stock market, quite a large training group. In talking with the CEO, he wanted to boost the design of their management program so high that it would give them a competitive edge. Now, they're all instructor-led training, and these are 3 to 4 day long courses. So we put together a team, did an experimental project, a pilot project, for which we even went ahead and evaluated it, transfer evaluation, payoff, and all of that sort of thing. And in fact, it won an ISPI award. But what's been really exciting about that for ourselves and kind of awakening was that we had gotten into everybody wanting things so efficient, so short, so cost effective, that you begin to dumb down the design some, and it was really a wonderful experience to turn around, sort of get a slap in the face and say, be as creative as you can possibly be. And so we had full course simulations, we had rich media, all of these kinds of things, and what was wonderful is it really did pay off for them, and they got some terrific results.
Excellent.
So that's probably the most important thing to me.
What, as a longtime business owner in this field, have you been working on any new products and services besides that particular project you just told us about? But what are you doing with your own product and service line?
Well, it is changing, primarily because public workshops, which was a way that we marketed our workshop products, has just changed. That business has changed. It's very difficult. Even more so in these economies. But what we're changing to is to getting more of that in some sort of web-based instructional format. That seems to be working for us. It is a bit of a struggle to get it created in that format. And also, another thing that's kind of tough is figuring out the financial model for that. How do you actually make money once you deliver something in that way? So we're beginning to figure that out. We have some pilot programs going on that way that seem to be successful. And so I think it will fit our business model and yet be able to reach out and with our products and services to people so that they can actually take them and not have to get on an airplane and fly someplace to do it.
Thank you. As a longtime member of the Society, I know that you've been in many volunteer positions, served on many task forces and committees. You've been a member of the board of directors. Can you tell us a little bit about your history with the Society?
Sure. I got started as a student at Indiana University, and I was working with Tiagi some. He was out at the Center for the Development of Teaching and Training Materials for Teachers of the Handicapped there in Bloomington, Indiana, and got acquainted with him. Took a couple of workshops with him and learned about ISPI through Tiagi. So while still in graduate school, I went to a conference in Dallas, Texas, and that's kind of how I got started, and I believe I've only missed one conference out of 32 or something like that since I started. So it's been my professional organization, my place to go and get professional development for myself as well as others. People who've worked for me, brought in other people too, including clients a lot to ISPI, and so it's just been a wonderful organization for me. Over time then, what's happened is I was finally on the board, and served on the board during some pretty rough financial times, was able to help with that as Vice President of Finance, and also have worked on a couple of the chapters in the Handbook for Human Performance Technology, which is both a professional growth piece for me, as well as hopefully it made a contribution to the Society.
Thank you. One of the objectives of this legacy series of videotape interviews is to capture some memories or stories of our members, probably going back into the past or the present, But who could you speak to that's had any kind of a significant influence on you, and or any personal stories about them and their character or them as a character?
Right, right. Okay. Certainly I mentioned Tiagi, but along with Tiagi, one of his students was Harold Stolovich, and he became quite a mentor to me in the early days that I was in ISPI. He was very involved in ISPI. That encouraged me to be even more involved in ISPI. And so I think Harold is someone that, Harold Stolovich is someone that influenced me in my career. I loved his practical approaches to things, his enthusiasm, his encouragement, and we even worked together a lot in the beginning parts of my company. He has been quite a shining light for me throughout the years, and he continues to be that.
Anything in particular that you learned from him that you give him credit for now?
Well, lots. I would say the practical approach of teaching people through our workshops. He and I used to present together sometimes at ISPI in the early days. In fact, we developed a couple workshops together. We gave us pre-conference workshops. And maybe a funny little story is that one of the ways we would generate enthusiasm for ourselves is before the workshop, we'd close the doors before anybody got in there, running around screaming, yelling, getting our own energy levels up, and all of that sort of thing. So we've always had a lot of fun with that. We roomed together in the early days when we were both very poor, and so we'd come to the conference and room together to share rooms, and so we had a lot of fun putting workshops on and getting acquainted that way.
I know that several other members, probably many members, have worked for you in delivering some of your workshops, and so I know that Mickey Lane is somebody that you've worked with closely in the past, and Jeannie Farrington, and tell us a little bit about your experiences with the two of them.
Sure. Yes, Mickey, I saw him present at the first conference he came to in San Antonio. So I guess that's 25 years, or about 23 years ago, when ISPI was 25 years old. And when I saw Mickey present, I said, gee, I bet you he could do our workshops quite well. So I invited him to do that, and he still continues to do our workshops once in a while. Jeannie actually got her start in this whole field with our company. Her cousin actually worked for me as a secretary, and we were looking for an editor, and I asked Paul Foyker is his name. I asked Paul if he knew anybody that was a great editor, and he said, well, I don't know anybody that's a better editor than my cousin. So I met her. She had an undergraduate in English, and she'd got an editing certificate, and so she certainly was qualified to do that. We had a great project. She had never heard of the field, and so she was introduced to it through us, and I hired her on the condition that she would start working on her master's degree. And which she was very excited to do anyway. We were in San Jose, so she went to San Jose State. Later, she worked for us for 3.5 years, and then she got a job with Sun Microsystems, later Hewlett Packard, and during that time she finished her doctorate degree at USC under Richard Clark, who's another well-known person in ISPI, and is now past president of ISPI. So she's kind of a shining spot or star that maybe I helped to get started a little bit. It's one of the most fond thoughts I have of ISPI and brings somebody new in.
Excellent. Well, thank you for doing that for the Society. Are there any other members, stories, experiences that you've had in the past that you could share with us?
Oh gosh, lots of them. That's for sure. A lot for sure. A lot of were conversations that we had. That maybe doesn't occur quite so much today, but lots of side conversations at the conference and sort of thing, being able to talk with and become friends with Robert Mager, Joe Harless. I sent many of our people to Joe Harless's workshops, because even if they came out of a formal program in instructional design, they didn't necessarily know how to do job aids, and so that was always a part of their professional development, was to go to his workshops. And so hanging out with those kinds of people Don Toasty, learning from them on the side, shall we say, and also going to their presentations. And we still stay in touch. My wife and I have been down to see Robert Mager at his home in Carefree, Arizona, and his wife, Elaine Mager. And so I think some of that, the networking, the sideline conversations have been great.
Speaking of the networking and such, what would you say to people who might consider becoming a volunteer at ISPI? What's the value proposition? What's in it for them from your perspective?
That's probably the biggest thing. It's like many things, the more you give, the more you get out of something. But I think that then you really get to know the people that you're working with, and that just spreads that network. They know people, pretty soon you're introduced. You begin to feel more a part of the whole organization, and it becomes your organization and your family, if you will, your professional family. So I would really encourage it, don't know anybody that hasn't benefited from that. It's a real hallmark, actually, of ISPI is the volunteer organizations. We just heard in the business meeting about how many people, what percentages. It's a very high percentage of our association are volunteers. And so I would encourage anybody that's new or not even so new to get even more involved and volunteer.
Thank you, Darryl, for agreeing to be participating in this video interview. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Thank you, Guy.